Sue-sim discusses with her friends at a teenage club that love is predetermined. It seems that everything depends on luck. But can life be unfair? Or does it all come down to appearance or character, which is given and cannot be changed? Does popularity determine the amount of love? What exactly does it mean to be popular? Beauty, appearance, or personality? Sue starts clicking on her phone, pointing the camera at the other students, and white numbers appear on the screen, providing information about each one. When someone asks someone out on a date, it shows up as a certain unit of love. The amount of love they give or receive is displayed on the screen. Sue is the sole owner of this information. Her concern is that there is a limited amount of love that can be received in a lifetime. For someone else, it might be like being born into a rich family and having unconditional privilege, but for her, that number is 0. It makes her think. Sue takes a selfie and checks it, but it only shows a 0. She wonders why she has a 0. Is it possible to live in such a way that no one will ever love you? At this time, the girls ask to borrow the phone to take a selfie and like the result. Maybe she has a special model of phone, a Jelly Pop. But Sue tries to justify herself by explaining that her previous phone was just not good, even claiming that she broke it in the toilet. The girls play with the phone and damage the sticker with her boyfriend's picture on it. Sue is a little upset, even though she doesn't really like Kong Minwoo. She recalls how he treated other girls, but she makes excuses for him, saying it's just his personality. She recalls strange things like one time in the cafeteria, when she hadn't finished her lunch yet, Minwoo took the dishes away because he had already finished eating. After school, Sue thought she was going home with Minwoo, but he said he was going to go to an internet cafe with a friend instead of meeting her. And when she was sitting near where the boys were playing soccer, the ball hit her in the head. Minhwa was more upset that he lost the game than that the ball hit his girlfriend. But then she also remembered a pleasant moment when Minwoo offered her delicious milk, knowing that Sue had missed lunch, and she hugged him. Before Sue can enjoy this moment, Chulmin shows up and decides to drink the milk, causing a conflict between him and Sue. Minwoo's friend Yoonhyuk intervenes. Sue notices that she feels different in the presence of Minwoo and Yoonhyuk. Yoonhyuk seems to give her a strange look when Minwoo is being dismissive. Maybe he just feels sorry for her and thinks she's unhappy? But once, when she was sitting on a bench, their fingers touched. Maybe it's worth dating Yoonhyuk? It is important to listen to your heart and choose someone who is really close and with whom you feel comfortable. Sue's life has undergone sudden changes that have caused doubt and confusion. 3 weeks ago, some events happened. While shopping for her favorite delicacy, pocket chip, she met her sister Uram, but not alone, but with Yoonhyuk. Even then, Sue noticed a strange look between her and Yoonhyuk. Ram was not her sister by blood, but they grew up in the same foster home. Sue couldn't understand why Ram hadn't told her about her boyfriend, since they were friends. Sue remembered how she had been a little dismissive of Yoonhyuk at school because he hadn't turned in his notebook on time. It was starting to feel like Yoonhyuk was ignoring her all the time. However, another event changed everything. One day, Sue and Ram forgot to wear their school ties and realized that they would not be allowed to go to school. At the entrance to the school, Yoonhyuk offered his tie, which Ram took, but Sue had to run penalty laps. Sue was late, and when she opened her school locker, she found Jellybean. She thought that the phone belonged to Yoonhyuk, since he was the only one who used this model. When she opened it, Sue received a message instructing her to look at a photo of herself with Minwoo. Unexpectedly, Jellypop showed her a picture of Minwoo being disrespectful to her. Sue assumed that Yoonhyuk had taken the photos and decided to look into it. However, when she tried to show the photo, it was blank. Soon after, Sue received a warning message that she must not tell anyone about this, otherwise the consequences could be unpredictable. New messages come to the girl's phone. More reassuring ones, saying that there is no need to worry too much, because it is for help. She thinks about the possible reasons for these strange events. Maybe someone hacked the SIM card or something supernatural happened to the phone? Sue decides to just throw the phone in the trash. In the school hallway, Sue notices Minwoo and Raim hugging together. She realizes that the messages are from someone who knows her well, but one message is still bothering her. Why does someone think Minwoo is not the right person for her? Sue notices strange noises coming from the closet. The teacher notices this and demands that she hand over her phone, as mobile devices are supposed to be turned off at school. It is unclear how the phone ended up back in Sue's closet. The teacher decides to find out whose phone it is, so he talks to Yoonhyuk and Sue, urging them to pay attention to their studies and turn off their phones. Sue receives another notification about some kind of broadcast at an internet cafe, but this time Yoonhyuk comes back and says that they just switched phones. Yoonhyuk asks Sue a strange question about why she likes Minwoo, but Sue thinks it's none of his business. Yoonhyuk is a little offended because he just wanted to talk. Sue receives another mocking message from an unknown user. Then someone asks her again why she wants to meet Minwoo so badly. Back home, Sue tries to tell her sister about the strange events and the fact that she suddenly has the same phone as Yoonhyuk. She suspects that Yoonhyuk is hiding something. At school, during physical education class, students are paired up, and Sue finds herself with Yoonhyuk, with whom she already has some problems. At the same time, Sue notices Minwoo and another girl making fun of her. A ball game begins and Minwoo, enraged, throws the ball at Sue, hitting her in the head. This makes Sue decide to take revenge, but she accidentally throws the ball at the other girl. Minwoo demands an apology from Sue, but she feels insulted because she is his girlfriend. Sue apologizes. At the end, each team feels sad because neither of them likes conflict. Yoonhyuk is a little supportive of Sue, but the atmosphere is getting tense. They find out who won the game, and the girls try to calm Sue down by saying that Minwoo was being cruel. Sue goes to the restroom, where she cries alone. Minwoo sends her a message apologizing for his actions, but she still doesn't understand who is behind the unknown number and the constant messages. The unknown sender of the messages says that apologizing for the milk carton was not enough. Sue feels that this person must have witnessed the recent events and knows everything that happened. All of these events make it difficult for Sue to concentrate in class, and the teacher notices her distraction. During the break, Sue learns that Minwoo has invited her to a meeting, but he also wants Raim to come along. Sue is a little late, as she has been instructed to clean up after class. When she finishes and rushes to the meeting, she comes across an unexpected scene. Outside the classroom door, she sees Minwoo kissing his friend. Sue feels disappointed, betrayed, and hurt. All of her suspicions about Minwoo's unexplained messages and behavior have come true. She feels like her heart is broken. Sue can't understand what's going on. She watches her sister and Minwoo hugging, then they decide not to wait for Sue and go to the movie by themselves. Sue can't move. Go-in tries to calm her down. Raim and Minwoo then decide to go to the movie without Sue. She stays in place and can't move. Yoonhyuk tries to calm her down, but Sue decides to go to the movie anyway. Yoonhyuk doesn't understand why she's doing this and suspects that Sue is trying to make a scene of jealousy. Sue doesn't understand why Yoonhyuk is so sympathetic to her and gives her a strange look. He suggests that they leave it at that, but Sue is upset and doesn't understand. She thinks that Yoonhyuk is just sympathizing with her. She doesn't understand what any of this has to do with Yoonhyuk, but her tears don't stop falling. Meanwhile, Minwoo is glad that Sue isn't going with them. Sue decides not to interfere with their relationship, which she sees as almost perfect. So she calls Minwoo and tells him that she has an emergency extra class and won't be able to go to the movie. A message appears from an unknown author that she is pathetic. Desperation overwhelms Sue, and she goes to the playground, where she hides in a small house. She tries to understand what is happening. How many times have they kissed? Why is Raim treating her like this? Sue recalls the confidential conversation she had with Raim about her relationship with Minwoo, about her first kiss on the cheek. She thinks that Minwoo behaves this way because he is mature on the outside, but still a child on the inside. She even speculates that it might have something to do with the fact that Minwoo was born in December. Sue decides to help him in a peculiar way, to wait until he is mature enough to kiss him. While at the playground, Sue receives a message from Raim that they were at a burger joint. Sue stays at the playground for a while longer and then goes home. At home, she finds a cooked dinner that Raim has kindly left for her. On top of it is a note in which Raim expresses his concern for Sue and his deep love. But to Sue, it all looks like a hoax. She takes the food, goes to the bedroom, and throws it right at Raim, expressing her indignation. She feels betrayed. An angry Sue turns to Raim, who is barely awake and doesn't understand what's going on. She suddenly asks why Raim was kissing Minwoo. Raim laughs at her, thinking it was a joke. Confused, Sue accidentally comes across the keychain that Minwoo gave her. Eventually, she realizes that it was just a dream. In the morning, Raim wakes Sue up and notices that her eyes are puffy. She advises Sue to wash her eyes with cold water and smiles playfully. Sue plans to have a frank conversation with Raim about the events of yesterday, but she also worries that she might scare or anger her friend. At first, she considers hitting Minwoo and breaking off all relations with him. However, Sue realizes that such behavior would not be morally justified. Sue thinks back to the friendly conversations between her friends and feels sorry for Raim. She realizes that there is nothing she can say to Raim. At this point, Raim takes care of Sue and offers to put a cold spoon on her swelling to make her feel better. Sue never says anything. They walk to school together. On the way, they meet Minwoo and just talk about school. Sue feels anxious again, as she has a hard time pretending that nothing has happened. But Minwoo and Raim look happy and harmonious. Sue suddenly says that she needs to go the other way. She realizes she's late for school and might get in trouble. Meanwhile, she is not the only one in this situation. Several boys try to climb over the fence to avoid being seen and enter the school through another entrance. Sue joins them and tries to climb the fence. Her second attempt is unsuccessful. She falls down and notices Yoonhyuk, who looks amazingly handsome. However, she still needs to get to school. Yoonhyuk tries to help Sue climb over the fence. After several failed attempts, Sue finally crosses the fence. Her thoughts are completely absorbed in the relationship between her and Yoonhyuk. She needs to carefully understand what is happening between them. But it is important that Yoonhyuk gets to school as well. Sue tries to help him, but all her attempts fail. Sue and Yoonhyuk are on opposite sides of the fence. Yoonhyuk walks to the entrance of the school. At this time, Sue begins to realize that those strange messages from an unknown author could have been written by Yoonhyuk. No one else could have had all this information. Sue is so absorbed in her thoughts that she doesn't even notice the obstacle in her path and trips over a rock. She hits it hard and her phone falls out of her bag. Luckily, the gillipop turned out to be sturdy and remained in good working order. Passing by the classroom where the terrible incident took place, Sue starts to remember and relive everything again. At this point, she falls again, this time in a flat place. Surprisingly, Minwoo is standing next to her and laughing at her. He thought it was all hilarious. Suddenly, Sue realizes that she is holding Yoonhyuk's bag, which she skillfully threw over the fence. She wonders if Minwoo will be jealous because of this. Suddenly, Yoonhyuk appears in the hallway. A conflict is brewing between the boys. Whose side is Sue on? Minwoo is still her boyfriend, and their relationship hasn't broken off yet. Sue's mind is full of thoughts that all the students will hear the fight between Yoonhyuk and Minwoo when they leave the classroom. Sue stands between the boys and tries to stop them. Yoonhyuk doesn't understand why Sue is standing up for Minwoo. Sue can't get it together and feels like Minwoo is jealous of Yoonhyuk. She finds herself thinking that she still likes Minwoo. One of the girls tries to cheer her up. At first, Sue is inclined to refuse, but when he sees the famous Manhwa The Black Rose of Versailles in her hand, which is also a rare edition, her mood improves a bit. This manhwa has been reprinted many times since 1979, and although it has not had a sequel, it has always been very popular. The author of the manhwa fell ill and died. Sue recalls reading it as a little girl when she was visiting her aunt. She fell in love with the manhwa at first sight, and it stayed in her heart. Sue almost can't believe her eyes and doesn't understand where this manhwa came from here. She decides to put it in her school locker. Next to her, she notices Yoon-hyuk, who seems to be ignoring her. At that moment, a ball comes flying towards her and the boys ask her to hit it. Among them is Minwoo. Sue starts talking to Yoon-hyuk and asks him what happened to his phone, since she was the one who caused it to fall out of his bag. Sue tries to make Minwoo jealous. Yoon-hyuk suggests that Sue should just buy him something to eat so that she doesn't feel guilty about the phone. Yoon-hyuk and Sue defiantly walk together to the dining room, and Minwoo gives them a dirty look. Sue is ultimately pleased with herself because she avoided a fight between the boys. However, she is annoyed by her shoelace, which keeps getting untied. Yoon-hyuk eats a sandwich, and Sue offers him half of her ice cream. Yoon-hyuk says that he doesn't like this kind of ice cream, which disappoints Sue a bit. She decides to apologize to Yoon-hyuk for getting him involved in these problems. She tries to explain why she hasn't broken up with Minwoo yet, especially after they saw Minwoo kissing another girl together. Yoon-hyuk says that it's none of his business and that Sue probably has her own reasons for this behavior. These words stunned Sue, and Yoon-hyuk went on his way. When Sue decided to chase after him, a guy walking by stepped on her shoe. Sue was embarrassed again, holding the ice cream halves in both hands. But she was pleasantly surprised when Yoon-hyuk came back and tied her shoe. At this time, Ram and a girl walked by. Sue started to follow them, sat down under a bush and watched. The ice cream was slowly melting. Yoon-hyuk didn't understand why Sue was acting like a cat that was deliberately sneaking around. Sue explained that she just didn't want to talk to Ram right now, so she was acting strangely. The ice cream continued to melt, and Sue tried to eat it quickly, enjoying every spoonful. At this time, Ram noticed through the dining room window that Yoon-hyuk and Sue were having fun together. Sue enters the dining room where she meets Ram, but the memories of her betrayal continue to trap her in uncertainty. She's still hesitant about breaking up with Minwoo, even though she's already decided to talk to him. Time passes, but Sue feels that her relationship with Minwoo is increasingly crumbling. She decides to grab a bite to eat with the girl who brought her favorite manhwa, The Black Rose of Versailles. On the way to the cafe, Sue receives a text message from Ram, telling her that she's out with friends and can't go home with her. Sue is unsure who Ram might be dating. Through the window of a karaoke bar, she sees Ram go inside and meet Baek Do-hwa. Confused, Sue decides to join them at the bar, even though she would rather go home. Could Ram really be seeing Do-hwa? Recalling that Ram was sitting in the wrong seat in class earlier, and Do-hwa's photo mysteriously disappeared from the school yearbook. Sue tries to figure out what this could mean. Rumors of a relationship between Ram and Do-hwa are spreading in the school. Sue continues to follow her sister to the karaoke bar and notices a group of pretty girls from the high school who don't have the best reputation. Conflict between the girls soon erupts when they notice that Sue has entered their room. Sue already thinks that this is the end of her, but Yoon-hyuk suddenly appears and claims that Sue has just mixed up the rooms. A group of girls show admiration for Sue, believing that Yoon-hyuk is her boyfriend. Yoon-hyuk suggests that Sue shouldn't follow Ram, but Sue accuses him of being the one who's been following her. This offends Yoon-hyuk, and he walks away. Sue is confused again. Why would Ram kiss Minwoo if she has a boyfriend as attractive as Do-hwa? She feels like her brain is ready to melt from the disorganization of her thoughts. She realizes that she can't even share her feelings with anyone. At the most inopportune moment, Jillapop calls, and although Sue wants to answer it, she is accidentally hit by an umbrella from a guy entering the karaoke bar. She notices Ram appearing on the street without an umbrella, and Goen offers her his. Sue is jealous of her sister because it seems like all the guys like her, including Minwoo, Yoon-hyuk and Do-hwa. As she thinks about this, Do-hwa appears next to her. Sue notices Do-hwa and isn't sure if she was just thinking about it or saying it out loud. The guy boldly tells her to get out of the way. Sue is outraged by his tone. However, Duhwa stops at the door and calls out to her. Sue is surprised, but it turns out that he only wants an umbrella. This makes her even more outraged, because if she had an umbrella, she would have left long ago. In general, Baek Duhwa is the main topic of gossip because he is popular not only at school but also outside of it. Girls think Duhwa is brave and idealize his actions, regardless of whether they make sense. The boys, on the other hand, think he's too confident. Duhwa always seems calm, and his wealthy family allows him to have a motorcycle and high-quality clothes. Duhwa's parents just send him money instead of being involved in his upbringing. Sue can't imagine that Raim is really dating Duhwa. She and Duhwa stand for a while by the window, where it is raining. Suddenly, Duhwa pulls an envelope out of someone's mailbox and covers her head with it to protect herself from the rain. Sue cannot believe her eyes. She decides that she's had enough of waiting and goes outside by herself, just covering her head with her hands. But then she remembers that she forgot her phone in the box when she bought water. She tried to pull the phone out, but it slipped out of her hands and fell into a puddle. At that moment, someone covered her with an umbrella. She turned around and saw that it was Yoon-hyuk. The phone was not damaged. However, the white numbers on it indicated that Yoon-hyuk and Sue had a 0 chance of getting love. At that moment, the 1-0 turned into a 1. Sue does not notice this detail. Yoon-hyuk actually gave his umbrella to Ram, but when he was buying something at the store, he noticed Sue fiddling with the vending machine in the rain and decided to buy 2 more umbrellas. A motorcyclist almost hit them as they were passing, and as a result, Yoon-hyuk fell into a puddle. Sue invited him home to at least give him a dry t-shirt. When Sue got home, she remembered her phone. At Sue's house, she offered Yoon-hyuk a towel and her father's t-shirt. She suggests that he use her room to change. But suddenly she remembers that her room is a mess. In addition, Yoon-hyuk can see photos of Sue and Manhwa together in the room. As she tries to pack, Sue asks Yoon-hyuk to wait, quickly enters the room, and starts to gather her things. Yoon-hyuk looked quite funny in his father's t-shirt, and Sue couldn't help but laugh. Yoon-hyuk asked for his clothes back. As Sue went out to get it, he was looking at family photos. He was particularly drawn to Sue's little sister, Raim. He remembered from his childhood a strange conversation his father had on the phone. Sue returned with her father's shirt. Yoon-hyuk thanked her and left. Meanwhile, Sue's father returned with the groceries and ran into Yoon-hyuk, who was wearing his shirt. Sue was confused.